Sound check, 1, 2.
This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
And he knows as soon as he gives it to her, he's gonna give her his heart to her too.
And we'll have kids and get married.
That's too far.
Holy shit.
It is 217 day. Welcome. 2/17/22, February 17th. 2022 of the Lord. Actually, it's a few years after, or whatever, if you're into that sort of thing. Very confusing if you look that up. At least it was for me. Well, flying solo today, Marty will explain where she's at a time of her choosing. But today I'm actually doing a makeup podcast from the 15th, which would have been Tuesday. We were going to do a podcast, and I couldn't do it. So let's pretend go back in time. Okay, it's Tuesday. I was having an emotional day. I'll be completely honest. Oh, before I get to that, though, I want to congratulate my man, Jamie Kelly. That on the 15th, so today, yeah, we're pretending. This is 1 year anniversary, the 15th. So big congratulations. Jamie and we met. He went to treatment, and it was my last treatment. It was his first treatment. We were roommates, and we had some great memories from that. We had a good time. We had fun. But for him, it really wasn't all fun, and it was hard. He had to learn a lot about himself. And it was a tough road for Jamie to get that year, but he did it, so big congratulations once again to Jamie. And he did it a lot quicker, I think, than I did. So big props, my man. And those of us that are hard-headed, that think, well, I can still do it one day, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because that's what keeps us stuck, still trying our own ways. And went to a meeting earlier today, hit at 8 a.m., and there was a guy in there from Battle Creek, and he had been to treatment 13 times, and his story sounded very similar to mine. He was a few years older, by about 20. He was like 20 years older, but age is, whatever. But his story was kind of the same, and he said this last time he's been sober since June 13th, he said. But he finally said he just gave up. And said, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to do what people tell me to do. I'm not going to try to work my own little stuff in there. I'm done with that. And he said this is the most productive he's ever been with his recovery. And that's truth. It wasn't until I was absolutely done and just mindset of I don't drink anymore. I don't drink. I don't eat fish. I don't jump out of airplanes. I just added it to the list of things I don't do. And you really change the way you think about it, and you really just pound it in your head that you don't use drugs anymore. That might work for some people. So give it a shot and really stick by it. You owe it to yourself, right? Think about that. If you know someone's struggling, just tell them, just give them that little piece of advice. Maybe it'll work for them. Who knows? But congratulations though, Jamie. I'm really proud of you. Let's go back to Tuesday though. And the reason I was going to do a podcast, but man, I was a wreck emotionally. And this goes back to, I had COVID in September. It just seems like since September, since I got COVID, things have just been going crazy with my health. I've been on this weight loss thing, which is really good. And I started that, I think, early June. And was doing like a keto, not like a straight up keto diet, but I was cutting out the carbs and stuff like that. Just making better choices, not sitting down eating a whole half gallon of ice cream. And people who lived with me in sober living would be like, yeah, Corey would knock that out. Just making better choices. And it's just like, being in recovery from substance use, you got to make the better choices. And, I'm dropped over 50 pounds. So that's good. But it's taken its toll, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with the pancreas problems that I have. And the doctor said, yeah, some of it probably is due to drinking and your poor choices on food, stuff like that, poor eating habits. But yeah, the drinking it didn't help anything, I'm sure. And, just the way it goes, you have your gallbladder removed, and they said sometimes there's still gallstones stuck in like little tubes or something, and I don't know, it hurts like hell though. And so I went to Grand Rapids to have this like little surgery thing done, and it just hurt. It feels like someone's punching me in my stomach. I'm hungry, and I have to maybe drop a deuce. It feels like that all the time. And it's weird because then you're like, okay, well, I'll eat. And that doesn't do anything. So like, all right, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Nope, that doesn't help. And then you're just kind of realizing, okay, my stomach just hurts today. Well, they put me on medication. I'm not going to tell you exactly what medication they put me on, but it's an opiate, you know? And I would love to sit here and tell you I was taking as prescribed, but not really. You know, some days I'd hurt a little bit more, and, you know, the bottle says take 2 or take 1, you know, and if it was hurting a little more, I'd take 2, I'd take 3, you know, until the pain's gone. But I noticed, and that wasn't like to the extreme. I wasn't going too crazy with it, but just to be honest, you know, I was bad. I wasn't taking it as prescribed, but I started to notice that every 4 or 5 hours, I was looking up at the clock. Oh, it's time for some more. Oh, time for 2 more. Oh, time for 2 more. Oh, we're going out. Well, I better take 2 more because that's gonna be. I started planning my day around the medication that I was taking, and I started realizing that's not good. That's not good at all. So I decided I was just going to stop taking it. You know, I was done with them, and I just didn't want it anymore. So I went to the doctor, and I told her I'm done with those. I don't want any more. I don't want anything to do with that. You know, and I told her that, and she knows that I'm in recovery, and she knows about the drinking, and you know that I have 3 years clean, and she knows I worry about that. And I told her that, you know, checking the clock every 4 hours or whatever is concerning to me, and I think this is becoming a problem. And she said, okay, well, here's some more. I was like, I just told you I don't want any more. And then I had to call again and be like, look, you got to switch this up. I'm not getting those. And she said that I really need sleep because without them, it's hard to sleep. You know, there's a lot of pain. I'm tossing and turning and moaning and groaning, and it's just tough. And she said that I won't heal without the sleep, but it's like, I don't know what else to do. So they did finally put me on something else. But on Tuesday, though, it was like the come to Jesus day. And I wasn't hurting physically from the withdrawal, but I was emotional as hell. And I couldn't figure out why. Not at first. I mean, I was just thinking about things in my past and just starting to feel regret almost. And no, not regret, just, I don't know, just things from my past. I was just like feeling not sorry for myself. I just hurt and wishing, I wish I would have made a better choice there. And I just started feeling really sad, and I couldn't figure it out. And then it hit me. You know, the early stages of withdrawal. It has been so long since I've went through this, and it's that guilt. You've had a relapse recently, or you maybe not recently, but you know what I'm talking about. That stage that comes over you where you're sad. I mean, you're crying, and you're just like, I can't believe I did that again. Except this time, you know, I didn't drink or anything, so that left me even more baffled. Like, why am I crying here? I'm like, Marnie, I love you. But it was one of those moments, though, that really made me glad that I'm sober, and it really makes me glad that I can make these choices when I see bad habits forming. And some people won't even touch pain medication. They'll say, nope, cut the leg right off. I'm sure some people would, you know, depending on your drug of choice too. You know, but pills were never a thing for me personally. But I could see where they would be real quick. Real quick. But I just kind of wanted to be honest about that and get that out there and just kind of let you know, like, I was prepared to do the podcast, but I thought, man, this is going to be horrible. You know, I'm feeling so emotional. And it wasn't about being vulnerable. It was just about just the sadness and the feeling. And I wanted to share that. But then before we were going to do it, I just kind of said, you know what, let's just put this on hold. Because I really wasn't feeling well. And like I said, the pain is constant. It hurts like hell. But I figured that if I shared that, you know, I'm in a room by myself right now. And there's No reason for me to hide anything. I even closed the door so the cats aren't jumping around the studio. Yeah, I'm just here in a studio talking in the microphone, man. But I'm getting these feelings out, and I do this podcast for me. You know, this is something that maybe my grandkids will listen to one day and realize that they don't have to hide it anymore, you know, and maybe if somebody's out there struggling, they can realize that too. Yesterday, which if we're still back in the past, because, you know, I told you we went back to Tuesday. So tomorrow in the future, I talked to a group of men that are at a treatment center. And yesterday I was kind of talking to them about those moments that'll catch you off guard. And those moments, if you're not prepared for them, will scare the shit out of you. And I told them that. And I told them a few stories that happened to me personally. And they were just kind of looking at me like, for real? Like, but you were already clean, you know, a year or so. And like that happened. And you were still like, whoa. I told them, yeah. You know, and I told them that I used the podcast as a way to get that kind of out. And they were like, well, are you making money on the podcast? And I said, nope, we don't want to. That's not what the podcast is for. You know, the minute I tell someone, yep, okay, this segment right now is brought to you by, not going to do that. Because the minute I do that is the minute that it doesn't become authentic for me. And yeah, I could play commercials during these and we would make a few dollars off them. But I don't want you to wait through a stupid commercial. And I don't know what commercial they're going to play. Could you imagine listening to this and all of a sudden like the new seltzer commercial comes out or some stupid alcohol commercial or something? Wouldn't you be like, what the? Yeah. And not that they would do that. I don't know. I'm just saying that's why I do the podcast is for me, is to help people who have a hard time with talking about their addiction. And it doesn't have to be that way. You know, be proud to be in recovery. You know, change the way you think about it. It'll really increase your odds of success, and it'll make you feel better too. You know, if you go anywhere, the store, sometimes it sucks going to the store. You get home, you got everything for dinner, and shit, you forgot the sauce. Now you got to go back. Well, you're going to be pissed off. Unless you're like, oh, and now I can buy my wife those flowers I was thinking about. Now you can be excited. You know, like, oh, I get a chance to go back to the store, grab those flowers. Because I was kind of thinking about it. Hey, and this is a God thing. And you can turn it into whatever you want. You know, like God wanted me to get those flowers, but I didn't. Now I get a chance to, and I can pick up the sauce. So perfect. You know, change that around. That's probably a horrible example, but you know what I'm saying. You know, if you're going to a meeting, you're going to go meet somebody. You know, if you're thinking negative, it's going to be negative and you're going to be pissy about it. You know, if you're going to meet with somebody maybe you've been beefing with, or you have a meeting with your boss and you're like, oh, scared and worried and, you know, whatever, or you're just pissed off, you know, you're like, they better give me this raise or else. You know, that could really affect the way that meeting goes, where if you just walk in and be like, hey, you know, here's the deal. It is what it is. But, you know, let me put on a smiley face because, you know, being pissy is not gonna do anything good for you. Probably another good horrible example. I know. I'm just trying to make up for Tuesday because I really wanted to get that out, and I'll probably do another podcast later today just because I really want to talk to my friend Jamie, and I want him to share a little bit about his journey over the last year. And I have some hard hitting questions for Jamie, and we'll see if he answers them. But I'm sure he will. So just giving you a little early podcast on 217 Day. Enjoy it. Appreciate you. And we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Win a bunch of free shit from 217 Recovery. Go to the app or the website, 217recovery.com.